opening kind of shows there. Not exactly the most savory end of town here, south of the downtown Santa Rosa, an area that's known for motor courts, trailer parks, and well, a very big transient population. And not much has changed since our story of about 60 years ago or so. But back in 1961, in December of 1961, and I'm at the location now of where the El Sombrero Motel used to be here on Santa Rosa Avenue. And it's going to figure big in our story today, so bear with me. This gets a little complicated because the woman who's at the heart of this story was not only notorious, not only a killer, but she was a grifter, a money grabber, a thief, everything that you can think of. It was all rolled up into one with her. Anyway, in December of 1961, a couple named the Arnesons were running a motel on this site. You can see behind me here, it's a site of what used to be Willie Bird's restaurant. But back in the day, it was called the El Sombrero Motor Court. Arneson was a retired military major. He had been suffering from Parkinson's disease, and his wife had a little bit of success in the real estate business. So they bought the motel and they ran it and everything was all good. But in December of 1961, police received a call that the Arnesons had been missing for quite a while. Neighbors around the area or people that they were friends with just said, hey, they just disappeared. We have no idea where they went. Detective John Kaufman was dispatched to the El Sombrero Motel where he met a woman named, well, at that time, Ida Long, who claimed that she was the manager of the motel. And she gave a crazy story that not only did she manage the motel, but she had bought the motel from the Arnesons because, well, Mrs. Arneson, the motel owner's wife, the couple, she had traveled to South America because she believed in spiritualism. And, well, she wanted to go on a trip and explore. And she had the money to do so, so she just took off. And, well, Ida Long said, I'm taking care of her husband, right, while she's gone. A very, very strange story. She overtalked a little bit then, and Detective Kaufman got a little bit suspicious. So he went to check the deed out, and he did see that it did seem to be in order, so they went ahead, and the case really got dropped at that point in time. Well, maybe they went off, maybe she went off to South America. Maybe she didn't, but he didn't think to find and ask about the whereabouts of the husband. And this is where the story gets really, really weird. By the way, our Ida Long was really something of a Lulu too, because when Detective Kaufman was interviewing her, she said, I'm a psychic, give me a lock of your hair. I can tell you about your past, your future. He's kind of like, wow, this is just one of these eccentric Californians, but it did leave an impression that this woman didn't seem to be too balanced. In February of 1962, Jay Aronson, the poor retired major suffering with Parkinson's disease, was missing. Nobody knew where he was, so naturally police came to once again call on Ida Long, and she said, well, I really don't have any idea. I was taking care of him. But then one day a couple Mexicans showed up, and last I heard they took him down to some nursing home in Southern California. Wow, what a story, okay? What else could the police do? All right, they took the information and went on their way, but in May of 1962, Ida Long made her first big mistake. A worker, a contractor who had come to work on the motel that she now owned, had been stiffed. And in May of 1962, he showed up to get his money. and Ida Long pulled a gun on him. He went fleeing, and at that moment she knew that she screwed up. She knew that he was going to report that incident to the police, which he did, and well, Ida Long hit the road and ran. Police started to do some background investigation, and they found out she was not Ida Long, but a woman with an incredibly long criminal history, $8,000 thefts here and there, claiming cancer, going blind, getting money from people, stealing left, right, and center, even going so far as to tell somebody that her son's dog had died, and out of sympathy, this person gave Ida Long a dog that the next day she turned around and sold this purebred for $50. We're talking about a real lowlife. If you think this story is weird now, get a load of this, right? Once Ida Long disappears, the police know they got something they got a really bad gal there. They find out her real identity is Kroeger, Iva Kroeger. And they managed to find out that she has a son in Fort Myers, Florida. Go down to investigate in Fort Myers. They talk to the son. The son says, yeah, there was a gal here named Paula Shoemaker. She claimed to be a wealthy real estate person, and she owned a motel in Northern California. And well, she offered the son, her son, he didn't even know it was his mother, go figure that. I guess he hadn't seen her since he was a child. Offered to bring him and the boys to Northern California and manage the motel. Strangely enough, she grabbed the two kids, and well, that was the last that the son was to see of them. And they ended up on the streets of Oakland, California, a really strange situation. And when they were picked up on the streets of Oakland, police showed the kids a picture of Iva Kroeger, and the kid said, yeah, that's grandma, all right. And at that point, she became known as the grandma from hell. But there's more. By this time, there were multiple investigations going on of people known, and one of the first things that the police also decided to do was to find out if Iva had a husband. And they found out that she most definitely did have a husband, and he lived down in San Francisco at 490 Ellington Avenue. Police got a search warrant. They went to the house on Ellington Avenue, which was owned by the Kroegers, but they were perpetually in debt and always having problems with money. And once they executed the search warrant, they went into the basement, saw that the floor was a little uneven, the dirt floor, and they began to dig, and they got a couple feet down, and they came upon the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Arneson, the owners of the El Sombrero Motor Court on this location. Now this story had really become a sensation. Police immediately confronted Ralph Kroeger with the realization that there were two bodies buried in his basement. He denied all knowledge of it, and he was immediately arrested for suspicion of murder. Meanwhile, Iva Kroeger, who fled to San Diego and applied for jobs and to get money, she applied to a job, and somebody thought that she looked familiar because of some of the news reports, and they dropped a dime on her and called the police. And well, Iva was taken into custody, and her murder trial just became a sensation because not only was she kooky, because she had heard somewhere that the best way to get off of a murder rap and a potential death penalty was to act nutty as can be. And the court case devolved into a three-ring circus. Of course, she denied knowing anything about what had happened in the basement, although she did admit that she hired a handyman, but she thought that the handyman himself had something to do with the murder, which the police knew was ridiculous. I want to read to you Iva Kroeger's theory of defense when it comes to murder trial. As she said, Kroeger said, if you act crazy, you can get away with anything because people will think you're eccentric. This became her courtroom strategy. During the trial, she claimed to be the mother of God. She sang, she threw things, and constantly interrupted the witnesses and the judges. The psychiatrists didn't buy their act. They testified that she was sane but deceitful. She was convicted and sentenced to death, and that was later changed to life imprisonment. Believe it or not, she was paroled in 1974, and upon release, when they asked her, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? She said, I want to go to nursing school and help people. Well, she disappeared out of sight. By 1985, she was up to her old tricks. She was arrested in Florida for threatening a man with a gun. When she was arrested, she was found to have fake nurse IDs, fake IDs. She posted bail and left before police realized her true identity. She was last seen in 1987 while shopping in a Santa Rosa department store. Well, she was never seen again. Who knows what became of Iva Kroeger? But what a true crime story. I hope you enjoyed this. Thumbs up or appreciate it. Thanks for being along. Please like and share, and if you're not part of the channel, hit that subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. I'd love to bring these little creases in hidden areas of history, particularly true crime, to life, as well as my other travels and adventures. Thanks again for watching.